welcome both the committee members, mayor, deputy mayor, and those in the audience and television watching at home to the November Steering Legislative and Governmental Committee meeting. I'd like to start out by asking that we need to approve the minutes, and for that I'm going to call on Vice Chair Robert Stevens for that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I read the minutes from the last meeting as they were mailed to us, and I would make a motion that we approve them as they were sent out. Thank
you, Commissioner Stevens. There's a proper motion. Is there a proper second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Reed. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I'm going to switch our agenda around just a little bit and move down to the announcements on number 5 and number 6. Steering would like to announce a vacancy on the Insurance Committee. A county employee representative, Shante Sherrill, was in that position, and Steering would like to also announce 2 vacancies on the Correctional Work Center Board, Thomas Hartley and David Puckett. At this point, we're going to move back up to item number 2 on your agenda. Steering needs to fill 3 vacancies on the Agriculture Committee: a farm woman, a farmer, and a commissioner. On your iPads, you'll see that we do have 4 candidates that have submitted their names for consideration: Charles Hord, Cindy Ayers, Commissioner Michael Rather, and Commissioner Craig Harris. So there was a total of 4 applications that were submitted, and just a reminder that we do need to elect a woman, a farmer, and a commissioner to that. So as you're looking through the applications, please consider that. Is Mr. Hord in the audience? I don't see anybody raising their hand. How about Ms. Ayers? Are you in the audience? I'm going to give you a chance to speak. Commissioner Rather, would you like to speak on why you'd like to be appointed to this committee?
Well, quite honestly, the information I've received was no one had applied. So I applied before I found out what that board or commission really did.
Right.
But then I found that out. I talked to, is it Mr. Tugler?
Mm-hmm. He's in the back.
That's him. He and I talked on the phone for a while, and I was like, oh. So, you know, if that position is dealing with budgets and staffing and things like that, gosh, I've been dealing with that for decades. So what I put on my application sounded kind of ridiculous, to be quite honest with you. But I can go either way. If somebody else gets it, I wouldn't hurt my feelings at all.
Sure.
I just hated for nobody to apply.
Right.
And, you know.
Yeah, and just so the commission or the committee knows, Mr. Tuggle did submit a letter to me, and it should be on your iPad too if you have not had a chance to review that. Ms. Ayers and Mr. Hord are eligible for reappointment, and then the previous commissioner, Joe Frank Jernigan, did not submit an application to be considered, so he will not be considered for this. Commissioner Craig Harris also submitted an application. His is towards the end. Commissioner Harris, would you like to speak just for a couple minutes on what you would like to do?
My name's Craig Harris, and I'm CEO of Construction Concepts. So one of the things when you're dealing with budgets, something that I've done and something I've been doing for 23 years, and fresh ideas, and that's one of the reasons that I applied.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions for either of the candidates that are present, or perhaps even Mr. Tuggle, if you have some questions about the responsibilities or items that might be important for this position?
Well, I would make a motion that we approve Mr. Hord and Ms. Ayers by acclamation.
There's a motion by Commissioner Stevens. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Reed and others. Any discussion? All in favor for those 2 to be appointed, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. So those 2 will move forward for our November commission meeting next week. Now we move to the conversation and discussion around Commissioner Rather or Commissioner Harris filling the position of commissioner on this Agriculture Committee. And I will entertain a motion from the committee on how we would like to proceed and move forward with this nomination.
I have a question for Mr. Harris.
Yes, sir.
Did you also fill out an application because nobody else had put one in, or did you do it because you actually wanted the job?
I did it because I actually wanted it.
Okay.
Actually goes off my vacation. I'm not gonna look like you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Could I make this real easy and withdraw mine?
Yes, sir, you can,
Okay.
if you would like, and we can certainly move forward with your
Okay.
withdrawal, and entertain a motion on Commissioner Harris now.
I make that motion.
There's a proper motion from Commissioner Rather. Is there a second?
I will second that
Second from-
noble
Thank
recommendation.
thank you, Commissioner Cooch. There's a proper second. Any discussion? All in favor with moving forward with Commissioner Harris as the third nominee, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Commissioner Harris, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. And obviously, your name will be submitted next week in front of you and 20 other commissioners for approval, so thank you. Item number 3 on our agenda this evening is we need to fill the vacancy on the Community Care Board. You should see on your iPad, commissioners, that there is an application in there for Kay Jernigan. There was also a letter that was sent to the steering committee from Mayor Ketron and Community Care Board of Directors endorsing Ms. Jernigan to be unanimously placed again on that committee. I'm sorry, on that board. If you have any questions for her, she is here in the audience. Ms. Jernigan, would you like to say anything before we move forward?
I've been serving on that committee for 16 years. I thoroughly enjoy being out there and helping the residents of community care. My grandmother was there, so she was there when it was not being run very well. So I know what that part was like, and I'd like to continue to help make sure that the residents there are taken care of like they should be.
Thank you. Any questions for the candidate? At this time, I'll entertain a motion from the committee.
Mr. Chairman, I think Ms. Jernigan seems to be dedicated to that position, and I move that she be selected by acclamation.
There's a motion from Commissioner Reed. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Harris. Any discussion? All in favor of moving forward with the application for Ms. Jernigan, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Move forward. Thank you again for your service. Thank you for reapplying. Thank you, committee. This time, we also need to fill a county coroner vacancy. Commissioners, on your iPad, you will also see an application for Mr. Mike Nunley, who's in that role now and has been there, I think, probably longer than anybody. But he is in the audience. Mr. Nunley, would you like to address the committee?
I don't know how familiar, I know that some of you are very familiar with I refer to it as our medical examiner program here in the county. It wasn't my idea. Actually, the idea went back to Dr. Murphy years ago. But that's been expanded on, and now the program here in the county is actually using an example for most other counties. The state medical examiner, Dr. Adele Lewis, and our county medical examiner both point to us and ask us for help in helping other counties. We investigate about 50 to 60 deaths a month. Of those, 15 to 20 will go for post-mortem examination at the cost of $1,800 for examination, so it's a pretty big thing. But the point is that we're able to eliminate a good number of those deaths from being medical examiner deaths. And we just kind of like to let the program stay in place. I do very little of it because I have 5 or 6 deputy coroners that work at the ambulance service, and they do the majority of that work.
Thank you, Mr. Nunley. Committee, anyone have a question for Mr. Nunley as the sole applicant? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Motion from Commissioner Harris. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from 2 commissioners, Rather and Cush. Any discussion? All in favor of moving forward with Mr. Nunley, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Nunley, for your continued service. At this point on the agenda, we're going to move down to agenda item 7. I'd like to ask Mayor Ketron if he'd like to approach the committee to discuss the naming of the Broad Street Bridge at this time, and anyone else that the mayors would like to bring to the...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Did have Mr. Andrew Ottman, Vice President of
Marketing and Communications.
Communications, representing him to issue, but we have a new bridge across, everybody's seen it, the new bridge across Broad Street Memorial. And some people thought, I think even some of the city folks thought that they had the exclusive right of naming that bridge. I think people assume that because TDEC actually approached the city council at that time when they were getting ready to do the application of the stamping of the stone, to what color. And of course, they had up 2 different colors as a prototype, I think on the down by their work trailer. The city picked out, instead of a it was a yellow looking, I don't know how they came up with that color, but they chose the natural looking limestone color that they stamped it with. But in talking with Paul Deggs, Assistant Commissioner TDOT, says it's not a city bridge because the city did not put any money into it. It's actually a state bridge with federal dollars that came in for that. Actually, the state had started plans on that going this far back to 1989 when they bought the old L car from Larry Counts on the corner. It was a Gulf station, and they bought that lot for $350,000, where there's just a concrete pad there now. So that is a state bridge. County Commission has naming rights. I was cautioned by Mayor McFarland that Mr. Weatherford came to him thinking that they had naming rights, the city had naming rights, and he said, remember, that bridge was, the old bridge that came across had Al Mifflin's name on it. Al's been deceased for a number of years, a well-respected gentleman here in town that used to work at the old Murfreesboro Bank and Trust. But when I was talking to Mr. Deggs, he said, Commissioner Deggs, he said, this is a new bridge. The bridge that actually covers over the railroad track is still the Al Mifflin Bridge. Okay? So Terry and Larry Haynes had also approached me back in the spring when I was still in the Senate about naming the bridge after Grady Haynes, because at some point in time they gave up some of, because they have their lumber yard is adjacent to that, and sometime back during that period of time they also gave some right-of-way easements. And so I was thinking about the best way to overcome not getting into arguments or hurting people's feelings about naming the bridge after somebody's passed or somebody that a lot of folks don't even know anymore. It's a good way to acknowledge our university by naming that bridge either True Blue Bridge or Blue Raider Bridge. That would be kind of the gateway, and then put blue LED lights on both sides of the bridge that would light up the bridge, which would kind of be the gateway to the university. That would help the town-gown relationship within our community. You go into some towns, I mean, you go to Bowling Green, every business, every entity is eaten up with hilltoppers. It's the same way, and I think it would help us come together as a community by naming that bridge. And I'm not asking for you to vote on it tonight, but maybe just kick it around some of your friends and maybe come back. The timing would be at next month to vote on naming the bridge and sending a resolution by the full commission naming something blue if we're going to light it up with blue lights, which is permissible by TDOT. And then we get, after the resolution is passed by the full commission, it would go to our delegation at the legislative, at the Capitol, and they would put it on the omnibus bill, all bridges, roads across the state going to one bill, and they would pass it, and we'll probably get that thing done by April, I'll say, of 19. And then work on getting a dedication. Make a big deal out of it. So I just want to put that before the committee, and everybody has any questions. I've talked to everybody on city council. They're all in favor of doing that. They think it's a great idea. MTSU loves it. Matter of fact, it would be the drop set or backstop of the tower that's been painted with True Blue and the logo of MTSU, and I believe that Andrew, you're getting ready to paint the other one over here by McFadden?
The city has asked us to step forward with a proposal to do the same design that you see on the one that is near the bridge to that one near McFadden. So we're working with the city manager now to come up with a proposal on that.
I just thought it was a good way to honor our university and not make anybody mad.
Of course, you know I don't have any specific feelings. Go ahead and go.
Take your jacket off and be proud and be blue.
But I think, you know, this has been an effort. When you go around now, you see our town, our team, and I think that's something to do there. And if the county can be a part of that, to help promote that university's been a big part of this community, this county, and what we do there. And I think this is a great opportunity for us.
The only thing that hasn't been worked out is who pays for the electricity of the LED lights, and it won't be that much. However, maybe the city can work that out. They can absorb that cost since we're already paying for the lights. And I was able to talk to TDOT into dedicating that lot where Elkhart used to be, giving that to the city. When I called Mr. Dex, I said, "What are you going to do with that piece of property there where Elkhart used to be?" And he said, "Well, I don't know." And he said, it'll just be surplus. There's no, because it's right next to the ramp. And he said, "Well, there's no utility for us." And I said, "Well, why don't you just donate it to the city and let them landscape it?" Which it's in the works. It's going to be done. So maybe for them, another piece of property donated to them by the state, they can absorb that electricity cost.
Commissioner Coos, did you raise your hand? I'm
So
sorry.
I think you just answered it. You did say TDOT is okay with the blue LED lighting?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, Commissioner Diggs said we do that all the time. And of course, I think more and more buildings you'll see, we're seeing here in Rutherford County, a lot of, like at the fountains, they're lining their buildings in different light schemes. Downtown Nashville is doing the same thing. You know, I think the Veterans Bridge going over, they can actually change the different colors of lights for whatever it may be, just like we change the colors on the courthouse now. You know, for whatever it may be, breast awareness week or leukemia, whatever we do.
Are the two names that you have, is that what you're going with, True Blue and Blue Raider?
I have Blue Raider, Big Blue, True Blue, whatever. I would just say over the next 30 days, just get out and talk to your constituents and see what, poll everybody and see what they like. I think everybody you talk to will say it's a great idea.
That's a great idea. I just like Blue Raiders.
I think Blue Raider too. I'm going with the Blue Raider. I like it, but we'll talk to them and see.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the mayor or on this topic? Again, it's just for consumption only right now, and then next month we can come back and have a conversation again and hopefully a vote and move forward before the new session of the legislature gets going. Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, you're welcome.
Commissioners, you will also find on your iPad, there's a litigation list. Josh is here if there's any questions that we might have centered around that. Again, this is only for your information, just letting you know when cases are being closed and current litigation that the county's involved in. Commissioner McAdoo.
So I don't have a question on the list, but I do have a question for him.
Okay.
Concerning this Candy Crush or whatever. My constituents been eating me up on that.
Okay.
And the question they
No
got,
pun intended.
the question they got is that, will the county be representing the district attorney office, the assistant attorney, the judges, who specifically will the county be representing?
The county and the sheriff.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay.
The Attorney General's office, the State Attorney General's office, I believe, will be defending the elected DA and the assistant DA who were named. They have not entered an appearance for them as of today,
Yeah.
but that's normally who would defend them. And no judges were named as actual parties in the litigation. So we have two defendants. Rutherford County was named, and then the sheriff in his capacity as sheriff. So that's who we would have.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. Any other questions? Whoops, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Josh, and I would assume Smyrna, since they participated, they'll have
Smyrna
their own.
has,
They'll have their own legal.
they're in the Tennessee Municipal League, And the Tennessee Municipal League is sort of municipal organizations that are in a group together for
Membership,
insurance
yeah.
purposes.
Gotcha.
And they hire outside attorneys, and so Bob Burns with Howland Fisher, private law firm in Nashville, will have the town of Smyrna and the Smyrna police chief, who are both also, who are defendants, two of the defendants in the case. And he has entered an appearance, so I know he's in it
Okay.
on their behalf. And there are 16 or 17 plaintiffs, yeah, in it at this point. So there was one, and then they amended and added 16. So there's a bunch of them.
Any other questions for Josh or?
I have a question for
Yes, sir,
Josh.
Commissioner Kush.
We see this litigation list every month, or
Right.
every meeting, correct?
Yes.
It's a little nitpicky, but let me ask it anyway. Would it be a big deal to all these that are dismissed or settled for you just to do a strike-through font? So only the open ones were pending?
Yeah, yes, I can do it that
I mean,
way. Instead of
that way we-
rolling them to the bottom.
Yeah, that way we
Yeah.
could still, if we
Yeah, so
wanted
they're
to
just
read.
redlined
we could
out.
read- Yeah, or change the color, or,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just strike
What
through the ones.
Another thing we can do is I've been rolling those forward for quite a while now. Probably maybe at the end of the year, we ought to just
Pull 'em off.
delete all the
Yeah, I
old
would do
cleaned
that.
up ones and just start over.
I think that's a
That'll
good
make
idea.
That'll make the whole sheet several
Much
pages shorter.
Yeah.
And so we've moved a whole lot from the active list to the completed list, so we can wipe that whole form down quite a bit by doing that. And then I'm happy to use a different format, Commissioner Kush, if you want me to do strike through or
Visually, it
something
looks
like
like
that.
you're making real headway. When we-
Yeah.
You know, and that way, if we still wanted to read, you could read, but
Yeah,
when
you
you
can
strike
read through
through,
it, that's fine, yeah.
looks like we're making progress.
Yeah, we are. It's when you start seeing more on the closed cases than you do on the open. That's tip of the cap to Josh and our team for getting those resolved. Any other questions for county attorney or the mayor? Okay. Now on any other business, is there any other business that any commissioner or Mayor Ketchum would like to bring before the committee? I know he raised his hand, Mayor. I think you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Just wanted to ask permission to, I've been contacted by Neighborhood Alliance, is that correct?
RNA.
Yeah. To make a presentation to the committee next week about the attorney going in-house. That is their opinion. And they'd like to make a presentation, and then I'll, after that, probably be prepared to make a presentation as well.
Now, when you say next week,
Next month.
okay.
Next month.
It worried me for a second. I didn't know
Yeah,
that was
I'm
quick. No, that's okay.
Yeah.
At the
It rolls
next
fast.
Yeah, right.
Next steering meeting?
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah,
month.
next steering
I'm
meeting.
sorry. Yes.
December.
Okay, next, telling everybody in TV land, it's
Next
next
month.
month.
Well, my
Mr.
only concern
Stevens.
with not doing something tonight is that if we want to put it out for bid or something like that, we're not gonna have enough time to get it all done before the end of the year when our 6 months notice is due if we decide to go that route.
Well, I'm not prepared to make that decision tonight, Commissioner.
Any other comments or discussion around that?
So, if I understand right, we're gonna have a presentation for a proposal to go in-house, right?
That is the proposal. I met with, there were probably 6 or 7
Okay.
from that organization this afternoon, and they presented me with their concerns and ideas. They said they've been working on this for about 10 years.
Okay.
I want to have time. They presented me with a booklet to compare Murfreesboro, Sumner County, Hamilton County, City of Murfreesboro. I'd like to have time to go through that. I'm not prepared to tonight to do that.
Do we also then need to offer equal time for an opposing discussion?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and I think Mr. McCrary has presented some ideas to me and what he's willing to, and we're still in negotiations on that. as far as what he's willing to do and make an offer as far as the length of term on the contract. And so I'll be prepared to the next meeting.
What Commissioner Stevens was referencing for some of the new commissioners is we get locked in after a 6-month window there, correct?
We have
And
until December 31st
December,
to
and then
notify them what we're going to do.
what the plan is, and that's where his question came. I saw a couple people look. That's where Commissioner Stevens' question came from, is allows the RNA and the mayor, Josh, if he'd like to present to the committee, but then it puts us under the gun significantly if we want to change direction, where a number of things have to happen with the mayor's office and putting out
Yeah,
bids.
If we went inside within the House Council, then that was my, and working while I started with property management, that discussion, because before the PBA got the green light to go ahead and start repurposing the building, I needed to know by the end of December, are we going to have to go in-house with council? Then I've got to be able to provide space for that in-house council. I'm trying to work through this, so I think property management now is, because we'll find out at the next property management meeting that repurposing estimate is much larger than what we had anticipated. So at least we put the brakes on. I think the urgency was to get into that building within the next 14 months, 15 months, because of the election office. But the election office says, I really don't have to be in. I can stay right where I'm at until after the 2020 election. So he's okay. So it kind of relieves us from that pressure of making that quick decision. So, but it's a good point. I need to know by the end of December. So I think by the next steering committee meeting, whether or not, what direction we need to go. Then that will put us at the full commission meeting in December to give me that, and we'll hit that deadline.
And I think, Commissioner Cush, to your point, if Josh has some things he wants to share from his perspective, we need to do that at that meeting, because we're not going to have any other time to do that. So maybe, Josh, you could...
Can answer questions now, and I will be here next month as well.
Well, I thought we said last month,
Whatever we need to do.
in our minutes, I just pulled them up, I thought we were supposed to have a report this month and to have Mr. McCreary here this month so we could ask the questions this month.
Well, the other organization did not present to me until today. They've made an appointment with me today, and I feel like that they should have that opportunity since they've been working on this. So you can go ahead, and if you're ready to do it, then I'm not sure that all of them, Mr. Daniels, who former commissioner, showed up today and presented some if we're going to make a decision, let's make the right decision the first time, okay? And I'm not prepared to make those comments today.
Do you think you could have it ready by the commission meeting next week? Have a recommendation, or?
I think that's unfair to this committee not to hear the presentation first, unless you want the presentation for the full commission.
Well, everybody would be entitled to hear it, but we've heard the presentation numerous times. Every time that we had this issue come up, we hear this presentation.
Commissioner, you have, but you got some new commissioners on there that's never been here before.
Well, we got an email with some of the points.
Yeah, I was just going to
a few days
ask that.
ago.
Do they have even a PDF that we could send to the steering committee, Ms. Allen or RNA?
I got
like
an
that?
email a few days ago with
Yeah, that's why I was
a
wondering
summary
if
of
we
their
could get something in
points
front
and
of it
things.
too, just to allow them to try to get ahead of that.
You new members, are you prepared to make a decision tonight?
I'm not.
I did get an email from RNA and I read it. I've actually had some discussion with the city mayor and some other organizations that have had outside and now they have inside. And regardless who I talk to, I stay right in the middle of the road and can argue both sides. So that's not really a decision.
Can we also get the RNA to send that to the rest of the commissioners?
Sure.
Susan, or if you guys could send it to the other 14 commissioners so they can look at it too.
And maybe I can get copies of the notebook that I gave you and share that too. I think that would be appropriate.
Is that your only copy? You
Yeah.
can come by and get it in the morning and make copies of that. Can you digitize that maybe? Or you want to mail? You want to mail the copy?
We can digitize it.
You can digitize it? Okay.
That would help. I want to make sure, to your point, that everybody, we need to get moving on this, and that everybody that needs to make a decision has all done in front of them. Not dismissing anything the mayor said about presentation, I'm just saying for all commissioners to have the same information that we have in front of them as fast as they can get it. They're going to need to digest it too. Craig's point and Mike's point about not having a chance to make a decision yet. I don't want the other 14 commissioners to get that in front of them and say, well, I need 2 more weeks too to figure that out. I want everybody to be able to have that same information.
Yeah,
to
Mr. Chairman, my
consume
urgency
that.
last month was to, I felt I had enough time by December 31st, but
Sure.
my urgency last month, things have changed on the repurposing of
Mhm.
the building.
Of the
We put the
building.
brakes on. So that's why I was pushing last month to get you all to make a decision.
Right.
To let me know between that and centralized purchasing. But the stress is not there on that building. So we've got some breathing room.
Yeah.
I just want us to make the right decision.
Sure.
If we decide at our commission meeting next month that we want to put it out for bid and get proposals from possible attorneys and law offices, and that's in the middle of December, will there be time to draw up a RFP, advertise it in the newspaper, get bids in, have a meeting, and make a decision before the end of the month? That we want to hire somebody different or accept the current proposal?
Well, I think his contract runs out June 30th.
So we have to give notice by December 31st. So if we decide at our commission meeting next month, we want to put this out for bid and see what kind of offers we get, we don't have another commission meeting until January. So we can't make a decision on what we're going to do. We won't be able to give enough notice. I mean, I thought we were going to deal with this tonight.
Yeah, I want to make sure we're not locked in, because I think we did that last year. We got locked in after one of the commission meetings
We waited too long.
because we waited too long, and I didn't want that to happen again.
And I thought, I mean, it's in the minutes, Mr. McCrary is going to be asked to attend this meeting, and that Mayor Ketchrin would have a report for the committee. So, I don't want to cause a problem, but I thought we were going to deal with this tonight. And I feel like we need to, because we're going to be putting ourselves more against the wall if we don't.
Commissioner McAdoo.
If we were going to deal with it tonight, why it's not on the agenda? You know, because I looked at the agenda before I come to this meeting. If I got any questions or whatnot, you can ask the mayor. I'll definitely get his office, ask him about some of this.
Sure.
And I look at the agenda, and it's not on the agenda. So I assumed that we wasn't going to discuss it tonight. That's just my opinion, but I think we should wait because it's not on the agenda.
Any other comments from the commissioners or questions for the mayor, Josh, or anyone present?
Well, certainly the budget, the numbers are going to be a key factor. Not the only factor, but a key factor. So here we are in November, nothing can get done. I don't see how you can put those numbers together if we bid it out to get all those bids back, and I mean, this is kind of late in the game. I don't see it. I don't think we can pull it off.
Well, Mr. McCrary is here tonight, so I would like to hear what his proposal is. Are you prepared to make some comments tonight about what you're willing to do or
Yeah, I know.
whatnot?
Thought I was expected to be here. I'm here. I'm prepared to answer any questions that you have. I can be as responsive as I can be. Obviously, I didn't get the email from the RNA, so I don't know what's in that information, and so I couldn't possibly respond to it in any detail. But I can answer any questions that I'm able to answer.
Are there any questions for Mr. McCurry?
Yes,
Mr.
I have
Harris,
some.
go ahead.
I've got this correspondence. Are you aware of this?
Yeah, Andrew.
Is that the thing from last month? Yes, I am aware of that.
Ms. Query, I have great admiration for you, and you know that. Are you going to put your name in here as to be our in-house counsel?
That would not be my expectation, no.
Good.
Maybe it would help, because I think that a couple of you were out of town last month. Actually, I think Mr. Rather and Commissioner Harris. We have two separate parts to our legal services contract. The first part is for routine in-house services such as reviewing contracts, preparing the documents for the commission meeting, reviewing those, giving department heads advice, going to answer things like that for the in-house matters. That's one track of the contract, and that was for 1 year. It expires July or June 30th next year. And we have to give a 6-month notice, which is December 31st, whether we're going to continue that relationship or pursue something different. So we have till December 31st to figure that out. The other track of it is for litigation. So when the county gets sued or the county's going to sue somebody, that part of the contract covers those services. And that's a 4-year contract. That one doesn't expire for 3 more years. So we're not talking about any kind of litigation services or anything like that. All we're looking at is the part where we're doing the routine day-to-day matters, to have somebody to advise our department heads, the mayor, the sheriff, et cetera, and to deal with documents and simple things, coming to meetings, answering questions, et cetera. So I think it's really important that we're not doing all of this at one time. When you think of an attorney, you think of an attorney doing everything, but we're just talking about the day-to-day routine matters. And so I think on this handout that Ms. Nolan had sent out, she's got a breakdown of the different parts of our contract. And we're not looking at all those numbers. We're just looking at the part for the routine day-to-day services. And I hope that that helps kind of clarify where we are. The litigation part is not on the table.
Whole nother animal.
A completely different animal.
And I think that was done by design, because I think there was a number of different proposals around that, but there was a conscious decision by the committee and the commission to split those, to not have them up for renewal at the same time. Hence the need to do this part now, and the other was a 4-year. Commissioner Reed?
I just want to ask, can you not still ask individuals to go ahead and make bids?
Well, I guess you could, but I don't know if you have to do an RFP to take bids under, sealed.
I mean, they could go ahead and then we could still be, and then make that decision later, and then we have the bids.
But there's a proper process to do the bids and advertising and telling people to turn in their bids by a certain date and time if they want to be considered. And if we're going to go that direction, I want to be sure that we're following all the
Could you not be
requirements.
saying we may be considering?
Yeah.
in-house,
We could.
and then
You
just
could.
ask them,
And then reject all the
make
bids or
Yeah.
accept one or not.
You
And
could. I
then
don't think
the
there'd be
bids
any
come in, but
bang.
then we make these decisions here, and that way we're not putting,
Right. We would need to set deadlines to make sure that it's submitted within reason for either the mayor to be able to look at them or Josh to be able to come back with conversation pieces for him. But I think the committee reserves the right to do any of that. Either not extend offers as far as RFPs and open that to the general public, or not.
what I'm saying is we go ahead and do that, to give the mayor time to look at the information that he has there.
Is that a direction, Commissioner Reed, a motion, or just a conversation piece?
Not to hear.
Are these requests for prices or requests for services?
Request for proposal.
Request for
We tell them
proposal
we're
to
looking for
say,
an
here's what
attorney.
we're looking for.
We're looking for an attorney that does this, 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 and this. So send us your qualifications,
Okay.
send us.
Only
your
on that
price.
portion,
They're not going to
Commissioner.
put a dollar amount to it.
Yeah, they would say for.
Yeah, they would,
This is-
they would.
So that's public knowledge, which means all he has to do is look at what people turn in, and he can decide what price he wants to come back. And
Well, that's why you have everybody turn them in, they're
That would,
sealed, and you
yeah.
open them all
Then
at
you
a
open them at
purchasing
the
committee meeting or whatnot, so nobody knows what everybody
But
else
yes,
is
and that, remember, that would only be for this, not the litigation piece.
The problem is, I don't know, you might not want to make this decision based exclusively on the lowest bid.
Yeah,
Sure.
You never
That's
know.
up to you.
Ability and services.
experience. Yeah, there's all kinds of things that we would ask them to present for us in their proposal. How many attorneys do you have in your office? Do you have malpractice insurance? How long have you been working in this type of field? Or are you somebody that normally practices medical malpractice that's looking for new areas of law? These are all types of things we would want to know and look at all the qualifications. And, we might get 0 bids, we might get 10 or 15. But that's one way that we could avoid people saying that, there's no consideration of anybody else except this one firm. I don't know that I even want to do that, but that's an option. And if we wait until the December commission meeting to make that decision, we're not going to have time to do it.
What, Mayor, were you going to mention something? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
when is the final commission meeting in December?
It's I'll tell you in 1 second. The 13th is our meeting, is the commission meeting. The steering meet's on the 3rd. 13th would be the meeting. That gives you 18 days.
6 o'clock.
At 6 o'clock. So it's basically 5 weeks from tomorrow, from election day.
Mr. McCrary, are you willing to continue serving as the county attorney?
Yeah, I'm prepared to continue, yeah, with a no-cost change in the budget cycle. So if we just did some kind of extension, I'm prepared to do that.
What length of time would you agree to serve, or would you propose?
Up to 3 years, which would make it simultaneous with the litigation piece. They would run concurrent that way.
This is preliminary information that I've negotiated.
8, I think.
All right, so if I'm hearing right, and I'm asking this question because I don't know. Usually, you only ask questions if you know the answer. But I'm going to go off out in the weeds here. So we're up against the deadline, right? We don't think we can meet that deadline appropriately because we've waited too long. And if we're going to go out for requests for services, or requests for proposal based on services, we don't have the days left on the calendar for that to properly happen, for advertising and other issues that we have to do. So if I'm hearing right, Josh has just given us an opportunity that he would extend his services up to 3 years. But we only really need 6 months, another 6-month cycle, right, to reevaluate again and get all the ducks in a row to do a proper advertisement, request for services.
We have to tell him by December 31st, yes, we want to continue working with you, or no, we don't.
Well,
And
so that wasn't, so that question was not, do you want to work with us for another 6 months?
Right.
you could
It
add
was-
6 months to the contract and make it expire at the end of next year, in the middle of the budget year. So part of the reason it ends on June 30th is that's when the budget cycle
Yeah,
ends.
okay.
And Commissioner Cush, to be fair to the others, we're still trying to figure that out, is do we have enough time? Because as Commissioner Stevens mentioned, we're concerned about not running into the 31st. Mayor Ketcherd said he wasn't as concerned anymore, given that there was less pressure now from the building portion, correct?
But, that's correct, and if I had brought it before you last month, nobody was doing anything. I was on a deadline to get something done. Of course, we had new commissioners, we got new, we started new. I think the old commission knew of this last year, and no action was taken because you had elections, nobody really wanted to do anything. So, here we are at the 11th hour. This is my 8th week being here, but I'm trying to get us to the point we have to start making decisions.
Well,
timely.
we purposely timed it this way so that the new commission would get a say on who their attorney was. We didn't want to lock them in for 4 years with somebody that they couldn't vote on. So we weren't trying to kick the can down the road or anything like that. We wanted the new commission that got elected to say, yes, we have confidence in Mr. McQuarrie, or no, we want to go a different direction. So, yes, this was coming up, and we purposely intended it for it to be done this way. So,
My memory of the 180-day notice, however, is that it's tied to the litigation piece and may not be tied to the county attorney piece. You may have looked at it more recently than me, but that's my memory of it, that the county attorney piece just expires in June regardless. In other words, even if you didn't give notice that you were done with me by December 31st, I think the contract ends June 30th. That's my memory of it.
I know the other one automatically renews.
The litigation one auto-renews without a 180-day notice. But when we came in, my memory is when I came into the commission last year, and there was discussion about the different timelines, and somewhere in one of those meetings I said, I only want to do a year. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of stuff going on. I decided, and so we did a year, and I think it just expires June 30. So you do need to do something or you'll be without anybody on July 1.
I think my
But,
comment was.
but I
want-
don't think that it requires you, my memory is that it doesn't require you to give notice. I'm saying it that way because I don't want to, I'm not I didn't look at it before I came over here, and I don't want to mislead you on such an important issue as, do we have to give you notice by December 31? But I don't think you do. I think that it just expires.
That was my impression. I think I threw the date out in the very beginning of, I needed to know something by the end of the year, so I'd have at least 6 months to go out and find some attorneys if the commission decides to go in-house. So tell me where the December 31st came from, if you know.
I think we designed it that way so that the new commission would have a chance before the end of the year to make a decision.
There was discussion of the 180 days, but I think in the contract it's only tied to the litigation piece, not the county attorney
Not the county
piece.
attorney.
But it won't. I mean, as a practical matter, if you got to January 1 and said, Josh, we're going a different direction, is it really very practical for me to say, oh, sorry, you're breaching your contract with me, I'm staying on? Not really. So the risk that that happens is remote. I don't care to have a client who doesn't want me. So if that's the direction we go, that's the direction we go. My job is to answer your questions as best I can. I'll tell you what I'm prepared to do, and I've shared that with you. I can answer any questions that you have about the way we perform our services. I'll be happy next month to be prepared to respond in more detail to whatever information is in the red folder that's been presented and circulated. If someone wants to share that with me at some point, I'll be happy to address it. And then we'll go from there. If you want to make a decision tonight, I'm here to answer questions. If you want to make a decision in December, I'll be here in December to answer questions.
So the county attorney is up.
June 30.
And that's, now, are you interested in renewing that?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm willing to renew it for up to a 3-year term. Yes. Now, if we get into these negotiations of like, well, will you do it month to month until we replace you? I don't know if I'm willing to do that. Or 6-month extensions? I don't know. Because I have to take into account everything else that's going on in my life. And you're in construction, right? When you're bidding on something, you take into account everything else you're working on. And it's the same kind of process with this. So it makes sense for me to get into an agreement that has some length to it. What's the magic length? I don't know. I hadn't really thought about it. I'm prepared to do it for up to 3 years and make it expire at the same time as the litigation piece. And I might be prepared to do something different. I don't know what different is, because someone's going to have to ask me, is this okay? And then I can react to that.
And that would come from the committee and the mayor
guess so.
having those conversations.
Right.
Commissioner Reed?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I think Mr. Prairie has sort of given us an answer here. He's told us what he would do, and he's also said to the fact it'll give him time to look at the red folder if we wait till next month. And I will make the motion, we wait till next month.
There's a motion from Commissioner Reed. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner McAdoo. Any discussion around the motion?
Yeah. Would
Commissioner Kush?
you want to put that in writing that you will, your term will finish June 1st and not December 31st?
Yeah, it never would have been ended December
I mean,
31st.
no, what I'm saying is,
The
this
issue
December
was-
31st nonsense
I
that we're
think it's
hearing
in
about?
writing, Commissioner.
I
I'm
think
saying,
commission-
I think that's what the contract says.
It does say December 31st.
If it doesn't say that, and what you want from me is a commitment not to try to say the county breached the contract with me by not giving me notice until January,
Yeah.
I could probably put that in writing, because that's not going to happen.
And I think this will give both parties an opportunity.
Sure. Any other discussion before we move to a vote? All in favor of Commissioner Reed's motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Commissioner Stevens with the no. Thank you, Josh.
Yes, my pleasure.
Committee. Any other business to come before the committee tonight? Commissioner Rather.
This may be for something down the road. And Mr. Mayor, Deputy to the Mayor, this has nothing personal Just any one of you guys.
Okay, so we can leave.
No, I don't have to go back. You can, or you can stay here. I just remember, I get kind of anxious with loose ends and unfinished stuff. Our first commission meeting, my first commission meeting, and my wife, there was a great deal of discussion concerning the mayor's authority to pick his deputy, whether it was legal for the county commission to even be involved in that, because they're not involved in other department heads. I remember, I actually have a copy in here, where Commissioner Allen had drafted a letter. It had some really good points to it, but I don't recall a decision ever being made. I don't want to assume that we don't have to deal with this, and we don't have to deal with it ever for 4 more years, but there's no, unless somebody can tell me different, there was no clear-cut, specific, here's what the commission can and cannot do, here's what the mayor can and cannot do. We kind of left it out there, and from what I'm understanding, the same thing may have happened, could have happened with some other things where the can just got kicked down the road. So that is a steering committee issue, correct?
It would be a conversation, yeah, that would
Yeah.
come through, that would be led by the steering committee before it got to the full commission.
Well, to me, I know there's some other more urgent business that we just got through talking about. But at some point, I just don't want this committee to forget about that, and let's tie that up real nice in a neat bow. Everybody understands, and we have a very concise, clear direction if that should ever, when that comes up again. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Does anybody else feel like it was just kind of left out
That's a
there?
good point. I think everybody assumed because the vote was 19-2, that gave me the authority to hire the deputy to the mayor. However, there was no action after that point,
Correct.
is what you're making.
That's correct.
You know, because I could fire him tomorrow, and, no, don't get nervous.
It'll be It'll be Monday.
But there was no action by the full commission as to future direction.
Right.
And that could get brought up, Commissioner, rather at any time in the steering committee. You don't have to wait until the next time. We could, you completely reserve the right to put it on the agenda.
Yeah, just request the chairman or call and ask to put it on the agenda.
Let's get past this issue right here.
Okay.
And then, once we get past that, I'm gonna bring it up. and
Okay,
have it put on
sure.
the agenda.
Okay.
No, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Harris, did you raise your hand? I'm sorry.
No, sir. I'm good.
Commissioner McAdoo.
Let's make sure that the presentation that we are going to see at the steering committee next month be listed on the agenda, because all 21 commissioners get this agenda.
Sure.
There may be some other commissioners that want to come up here and
Sure, and
participate.
see, that's
Okay?
right. We'll make sure it's on the agenda.
Any other business from the committee? We stand adjourned. Thank you.